Welcome back. Another episode of What's Your Story here on horrorfiendtv. This is JR, joined once again by my co-host
Lexi.
As
hey guys.
Hey,
what up,
you guys ready?
What episode is it?
This one's gonna be fun, I think. So, what are we talking about this week? We are talking about a 2019 film called Z. Now, this film, directed by Brandon Christensen, which has a cast of Keegan Connor Tracy as Beth, Jeff Kline as the kid Joshua, right behind me, and one of my favorites, Sean Rogerson, playing Kevin, also Lance Preston from Grave Encounters. So what's the synopsis on this one? Well, you have a married couple, Beth and Kevin, whose 8-year-old son, Joshua right behind me, begins playing with an imaginary friend. While they think it's cute at the beginning, things start taking a dark turn as we are introduced to Z.
Joshua, I am speaking to you.
You put our son on medication and didn't tell me?
Not seeing what I'm seeing, you don't understand how bad it is.
You saw Z, didn't you?
He's here with you, isn't he, Beth?
And, well, things just go crazy. So, Lexi, I know we talked about this. I know you're dying to get into this one. But without giving too much away, what were your first thoughts about the movie?
Upon first watch, I did not like this one. I think my issue with it was that it started off so strong. There was great potential, good concept, and then they went left in so many directions. So I felt like there was no conclusion, no explanation, and it was confusing for me. I went about it again today for a second time, and I still felt the same way. I found myself fast forwarding the movie the second time. But like I said, now the pro to it is there is good parts, and there was good scenes. Like I have 2 really good scenes that I liked, and it's like it got dropped and we never heard about that scene again, or there was no, like I said, there's no explanation, there's no continuation, there's no it just went left. And it's a slow burn again. Yet it was very slow, and I felt like all the action was at the last 20 minutes. Yeah.
No, it was definitely one of those films where I feel like when we first heard of Z, you got curious about it. You're like, all right, what's Z? And then, once it gets into the whole thing where you have an imaginary character who can actually cross into the physical world, you could say, because he was drinking milk, he was eating food, and you had an imaginary character that was actually more than imaginary. And I agree, there was something about this movie that I think if they would have focused a little bit more about the character Z and the backstory about Z, that you had too many plot holes when it came to Beth. Mm-hmm. And Kevin, the character Kevin, the husband, he felt like he was too much in the background. Like there was too little of him in the movie. And actually, when I first thought, I was like, wow, these 2 are very bad parents. Because there was a lot of issues with the kid. And
I wrote so many notes on the parents.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, these were bad parents. I don't know what it is with some of these horror movies. I mean, you just start realizing, wow, these are some really shitty parents. And how do you still have kids?
Right. And as a mother, like, to be disconnected from your child like that and to not pay attention. No wonder he has an imaginary friend who turns out to be basically a psychopath and has, twisted expectations, which we'll get into. Yes. But it's just sad. And I even wrote that on my notes that I'm irritated that there's lack of compassion from the mother. She's trying to pawn the son off to, hey, let's have play dates, or can you take him for a play date? Let's have someone else drive him to school. Dad, I'm not going to blame the dad too much. I felt like he was absent, but he was definitely supportive when he was home. So I liked the dad better than I did the mom.
Well, the dad definitely had a stronger connection to the son. where you felt like at times, like for example, when Joshua got in trouble in school, and Beth had to go to school, and then it turned out that he's disruptive in class, he's threatening kids, and then the fact that the father was covering up for it, and she got home and she just went after the father, and
Now that part, I am with the mom on that 100% because I want to know that my child has all these red cards, hurting kids, talking about whatever, and bad language is what the teacher said. Yeah. Like, I need to know those things, and if my husband blocked me from knowing that, I would have been so infuriated. So infuriated. He would probably have to go to a hotel for the night. That part was the only dislike from the father. But he should not be mad at her when they turn the tables. When he would, I can see why he was upset, but he has no right to be mad when she didn't say nothing about medication, which we'll dive into.
Right. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this character Z. Now, I know when I was a kid, I played with my toys. I had imaginary friends. I don't remember any of their names.
Me neither.
But I remember I did have imaginary friends. And the fact that Z was... You feel like his part was big in this film, but it should have been bigger.
I agree.
But, first of all, what did you think of Joshua at first?
Joshua, I felt did okay with his scenes. I felt I wanted more from Joshua. Although his scenes was a little confusing. I felt like he played his part fine. It was the fact that and this is where my confusion comes in with this movie is it it is an imaginary friend situation, but there's times where I felt Joshua looked possessed at times. Like his mom's trying to talk to him in the car and he's just like deer in the headlights, not answering her. And we're hearing things about the school that's coming from Joshua. It's not coming from Z. So to me, is it like possession? Or is this truly meant? I felt like the story was trying to do more than one concept and it just did not work out at all. So it was kind of confusing, but Joshua did his part really well. And I will say he did great on this, one of my favorite scenes, one of my pros of this movie, with his friend Daniel.
Yes.
I can handle gore, slashers, exorcism, all that stuff. I cannot do broken bones. I just can't do broken bones. I don't know what it is. Just seeing it out of the skin or hearing it, it just gives me the heebie-jeebies and I have to throw up. But the scene with Daniel falling down the stairs was badass.
It was.
And then you see Joshua at the top with that evil look. So is it Z possessing him, controlling him? I don't know. So that part of Joshua is confusing. Because then he comes back to himself and he's playing, he's talking to his mother, his father, just normally. So it was confusing, but overall, he was a good character.
Yeah, it was one of those things too. It kind of reminded me a little bit of the first time you watched Paranormal Activity.
Yeah. Where
there's this thing in the house, there's this evil entity in the house, and you don't know why it's in the house until you actually watch part 2, where they actually give a backstory about it. For me, when we find out later on a little bit more about Z, it did feel like there was a connection which wasn't explaining how Z latched on to Joshua. Because the kid showed no remorse in everything he did or everything he witnessed, none whatsoever.
He took it as you stole my friend, so...
Yes, even at the end, yes, very selfish.
Yeah, because usually when we see something like this, and this has been done before, so this movie was very predictable, I felt.
All right, so before we get to the next thing about Z, what did you feel about the parents, though? Should they have done more before we even heard the name Z from Joshua?
As a parent perspective, I felt like the mother overreacted in the beginning. And the only reason why I say that is because we all had imaginary friends. We all, especially if you're the oldest sibling and, you don't have a sibling yet, we had to do to get through. So we played Barbies and, I didn't have my sister come into my life yet. So, and now I have all these siblings. But, it's a normal thing for a kid to have an imaginary friend. Now, when it got to a point where it became dangerous, then yes, I felt like they lacked. I felt like the kid, I guess, I don't know. I guess the part with the whole therapist is fine, but putting on medication, I can see why and why not to do that. But like I said before, the father was more supportive than the mother was. She was always trying to put it to the sidelines or put it on the back burner. She didn't want to deal with it. So I felt really bad. And even in the whole scene with the arcade, she really tried. She went in. I don't know if it's post-traumatic stress syndrome or no, not that one. The postpartum depression. Yes. I don't know what it is. There was a huge disconnection between the son and the mother. She just didn't want to deal with it. But the father, I felt he was more supportive, although he was absent. He had to work. He's the, person that makes the money. So I don't know. How did you feel about it?
I did feel like you're spot on. I think she did have postpartum depression because I didn't get any sense that she actually cared about Joshua. Right. Where it was more like when she went to school, she was more embarrassed about what he was doing than the fact that he was in trouble. This kid had red flags all over the place. And the fact that the father, who, he was absent, I understand he was working, but he preferred the buddy role instead of stepping in a little bit more, which I feel like, he put it on her, but then again, she's home all the time. Yeah. You figure she would do it. Even that, like you said, a scene in the arcade, which we got to see Z.
That's where the mother first sees Z.
Hey, Mom, look at me! Come on, come play!
What did you think of Z? Before I get into the second part.
So she cared when things got crazy. But yeah, could have been some, I'm not going to even get into that. There could have been so much interception from her. But anyway, her seeing Z. Now, this is one of my favorite scenes from the movie, but it was still weak, I felt. Because the kid laughs it off. They could have done so much. And when he was laying there lifeless, I was like, oh crap. But the part where, that part surprised me. It was a good part where she looks up, she sees him in the inner tubes of the playground or Chuck E. Cheese or wherever they're at. Yeah. And you see Z quickly follow right behind him. So that part was cool. I was like, okay, we're going. The whole movie starts strong. And that's near the beginning of the movie. Yeah. And so when she's going into the playground, he's there again, lifeless, and then he laughs it off. Haha, you should have saw your face. I wonder, and like I said before, is he possessed by Z or is he influenced by Z? He's telling him a lot of things, but there's also questionable parts where it seems like he's possessed. So I don't know. But yeah, I liked that scene, but I felt weak when he started to laugh it off. I was like, no, stop going with it and then backing off.
Yeah, it's Joshua's. I'm sorry. I know he had all these red flags, but this kid was just bad. He's a bad kid. I know Z was influencing him. Yeah. But there's certain things he did in this movie where you feel like I agree. Did Z push him enough, or did Josh do these things to basically say, "Hey Z, look what I did"? Almost like. That buddy thing. Hey, look what I did. Are you proud of me what I did? Especially with the scene with the kid. But, the relationship between Josh and Z was pretty intense because, there was so much that, you had what happened to Daniel. You had the fact that, not for nothing, you have a kid telling you, hey, can we get milk for my imaginary friend? Oh, by the way, can you get 2% milk? This kid even had control of his mom to a certain degree because of Z, which will lead later on to the next question. But, what about that relationship do you think worked, though? I know you have, certain things that are unanswered, but, what do you think worked about Z and Joshua?
Yeah. I think their relationship worked for the twist. Because, and we'll get into it for the next question, but I think it worked really well for the twist. But I didn't like the attachment that Josh had, because he says a lot near the end of the movie, you stole my friend, you stole my...
Yeah.
And again, we've seen this concept before where the child actually is scared, you know, I want my parents to tell me, and parents in other movies gave a fuck. Yeah. So I guess it is different, but I didn't like the attachment because now we're running into mental health here.
Right.
And that's where the parents lacked in helping their son. The mom tried with the medication and all that, but the father's also right that sometimes it's not the best, especially with how young he is. It's not always the best way to go. I don't know. I guess if I was in their position, I would I do pay attention to my child. So it's like, I can't relate with them, honestly. They're not my people. But you did ask about Z now.
Yes.
Z himself, I felt like was... Can we talk about his appearance?
Yeah. Which one?
So I didn't like the way he looked. It reminded me a lot of Gollum from Lord of the Rings. He was creepy, I will say that. He was definitely I just didn't like the ways he was just too CGI for me, I guess. I don't know what it was.
Talking about the scene in the bathtub, right?
Yeah, the bathtub. And I felt like I wanted more from Z because we saw him here, but it wasn't long enough. We don't get his side of the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I see why he's there. We have to get in the twist to be able to explain it better, but I felt like I needed more from Z. And I get his story with Beth, which we'll explain, but I just didn't like the way he looked.
It's funny because he had multiple looks, and I think that's one of the things that I wanted more. Yeah, he did. Because when he was in the play zone, for some reason it looked like a gorilla, like a quick flash of a gorilla.
I had to zoom myself into that scene because I was like, I see him, but you're right, he did not look like that in the bathtub. The bathtub was the worst part.
He looked like almost like like you said, like a female Gollum almost.
Yeah.
But then there was another scene where Dr. Seeger goes to the house to talk to Beth, and Z standing behind him, and Z actually has red hair. And and then there was a scene where he killed Kevin. He looked like the painting here because he came out from the wall.
That's right.
Yeah, and I agree. It was like quick flashes. If they would have showed, I don't mind imaginary friend, a character that has different appearances. I think that's actually pretty cool.
His best appearance was the drawing on the wall.
Yeah. Well, the creepy one was when he was behind Dr. Seeger, because it was like because she looked at him, he had his head down, and he looked up, and then basically he wasn't there no more. Yeah, so let's talk about the what's leading to the twist. So, one more thing. The fact that when Beth called Dr. Seeger, and Dr. Seeger asked, is everything okay with Joshua? She was like, no, I want to make an appointment. Is Joshua okay? No, I want to make an appointment for me. At that point, she should have had an appointment for both of them. But the fact that she was more selfish about herself, kind of like, are you serious? Your kid continues to show signs. But, so we have a scene where Kevin and Beth take Joshua to see Dr. Seeger, who we later find out happened to be Beth's psychiatrist when she was younger. So when Joshua was running out of the office, he goes, "Come on, Z." And Dr. Seeger said, "Z." I agree. When that happened, I knew there's a connection to somebody else. So you want to talk about this connection?
I loved his reaction, the doctor. And I also wrote down, I want more from Z and from Dr. Seeger. Because I felt like they didn't use him enough. No. They just, near the end of the movie, he's just like, it's all in your mind. That's not what a therapist says. I wish we had a psychologist in today for this. Because I just don't think they gave him enough. I wanted more from Dr. Seeger, but I loved his reaction to, oh, Z? What did he say? Like, and it started flooding back to him that Beth, did he even recognize Beth, or did Beth recognize him? Okay.
Oh, he did.
Okay, good, because I don't think she remembers. Like, we don't get the part where how she forgets her memories, or how did she end up missing a whole chunk of her life of not knowing who Z was. So back to Dr. Seeger. Again, I wanted more from him. He was such a good character. How do I put it? So for the twist at the end, for him to just be pushed off as, oh, it's all in your mind, made it just, it was such a strong potential movie that it comes with bad ending. And that's what I hate. I hate that so much, because I want a movie to end good. I want the twist to work. It just did not work for me. Right. And Seeger was a strong part in the connection with Beth and Z. But and let's get to the part where now we're in her mother's house. Now her mother died in the movie. Yeah. Old age, nothing serious of that part. But, her and her sister are going through the house, and she sees the bedpost where it says Z and Beth forever. So now things are connecting with the doctor and the bedpost, and then she finds the tape. Now that part, she hears herself as a child say Z. Yeah. And that was a good twist, I will say. But for her to burn the fucking tape made me so mad. Why would you burn it? There could have been answers on that for her son. It was a selfish situation where she burns the tape. Let's just put it to the sidelines like she has been the whole fucking movie. Yeah. So it could have potentially helped her son.
Well, I mean, think about it. She basically, her husband dies, gets killed by Z.
Yeah.
The house they live in gets burnt down. She has her son live with her sister, so she can go to the house to figure out what's going on. Which, I mean, what she said to Z? Oh, leave him alone, and I'll stay with you. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's almost like she wanted that from the get-go. She never wanted that connection with Josh, so she was kind of happy to. You're
Does
gone.
It kind of make you think that maybe her son stole her friend?
I think what happened is, I mean, jump in on this if you think, is the fact that she basically, obviously she was on the medication to forget Z, because Dr. Seeger, when they were talking on the phone, he was like, it's happening again, isn't it?
Yeah.
So she must have been on some serious medication to completely block out the existence of Z. Right. Which then, with her postpartum depression coming in, I think that brought Z in, but instead of going to her, he latched onto Joshua.
And this is us guessing.
This is, I mean, and that's the, I think,
no explanation.
That's the big flaw in the movie, because the Z character was, for the bits we get from Z, I liked. Mm-hmm. But we needed more from Z, and we did need that background. Why exactly was Z, one, what he was, and two is what kept him, because obviously he was around his family the whole time. Z never left. He might have been forgotten by Beth, but he was always there.
And that's a good thing to point out. Like, where did Z come from? Was he attached to the house and they moved in? Like, we get no explanation. There's too many empty spaces in this puzzle, and not enough to put it together.
One of the biggest blanks they have too is when she's back in the house. Now remember, when Josh was in the house, he goes into that room and he's looking at the fan.
That's the other confusing part.
Yeah, and then she goes into, when she's locked up, basically, all right, so what happens is she decides to have Joshua removed from her so she could stay in the house with Z, hoping that Z will not go back to Josh, will go with her. So there's a scene where basically they're playing hide and seek in the middle of the night, which I guess that's what Z likes to do. But she goes into that one room that he opens the door, and there's some man basically hanging from the fan, which didn't explain who he was. Was it her
Right.
father?
I think it was her father, because she stopped in the hallway and looked at a photo of her father and mother, and then I think it was the guy from the photo. I could be wrong, but what the hell was the point of that scene?
So I think this is one of these movies that, like I talked to Joe when we did Troll. I'm not a fan of sequels sometimes, but I think this deserves a sequel to explain Z more. Because was that her father who maybe had the connection to Z, and when he hung himself, he passed it on to her? I mean, there's so many questions, because the fact that he hung himself and then she tried to do the same thing, and for some reason it didn't work, which threw me off because I thought she died.
Yeah, that's the other part that bothered me. Like, oh no. Well, I liked the part where she finally puts her son first and kills herself to save him from the train thing, but then she survived. Like, usually you're cut and dead.
Yeah.
And she was purple. So did Z save her? We don't know, because he was in love with her.
I think he probably did, to torment her even more, to be honest.
Yeah, he didn't want. So maybe we're making up our own explanations.
But this goes back to another film that being rigged to old people. Yeah, you watched Old People, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you know how old people, you didn't know why the old people were acting the way they were, but you honestly didn't really care because you didn't need to know.
Yeah.
In this movie, the vagueness is too vague that you need more information. You need
Old People was awesome.
Old People was really good. But yeah, you need more information. You need more about Z. Z is the driving force of this movie. And the tidbits he's in, you wanted more. Like that, not for nothing, that whole scene where they're stuck in the house, I didn't mind that. Because you kind of saw how possessive and dominant Z was. How he wanted all the attention. Because remember, she's looking at the phone, looking at her son, and then the next morning she finds the phone on the table broken because he didn't want. I mean, stuff like that. I didn't mind. I liked it that because it showed how possessive he was. But
and that's what's so hard. I wanted to like this movie so much. There were such good parts. My two favorite scenes with the arcade and then Daniel falling down the stairs. Yeah. I can't unhear those broken, cracked bones. Like, that gives me the heebie-jeebies. I even wrote down, holy shit, Daniel falling from the stairs scared the fuck out of me. Like, there was such great potential and the concept got lost. Yeah. And they just took out the rest of the puzzle pieces to start over. You're right, it needs a sequel to answer unanswered questions. And, kind of like Conjuring 1's good, but Conjuring 2's even better. So the second one will be better. But,
like Paranormal Activity 1's good because it first showed it, but part 2, the fact that you got the history behind it, like, all right, I kind of like that a little better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just definitely needs a sequel to it because, like, I need to know more about Dr. Seeger. Did he have a connection to Z? Was Z around the family? I mean, he has all the answers, and we were never given the answers from him.
I felt like he was a little neglectful in his patience. He was like, it's just like, even with Josh, he's just a boy who has an imaginary friend. Oh, Beth, it's just in your mind. Like, this is your diagnosis? Okay, we need the psychologist in for that part because he'll trash that, I hope.
Unless Dr. Seeger was hiding something.
I know, and I wanted more from Dr. Seeger. I thought he was a strong character, and we got to see little of him. I felt like the people that were strong were put on back burners, and the people Beth, I felt, and I wanted to like her because she's in one of my other favorite shows, Once Upon a Time, as the Blue Fairy, but I did not like her for this movie. She was just a neglectful mother. We're self-diagnosing here, like we're the psychologists. She had postpartum depression, I felt, and probably PTSD, and that's why she forgot about Z. And just the ending. Oh, just a touch on the sister. What? I have nothing nice to say about the sister. She's weak. I'll put it that way. She's definitely weak for not visiting her mother. Yeah. And it did kind of put me in Old People for just a hot minute on that part because it's like, respect your elders. Yeah. I mean, I didn't get to say bye to my father, and for her to not go say bye to her mother, just that made me irritated. And then she's like, I can't take care of your son.
Yeah.
Like, and I wouldn't, and like, what a bad choice of the mother to leave her with. Like, obviously she's not in her right state of mind. She looked like she was on alcohol or pills or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even that train scene you talked about earlier. Now Z escapes the house to go after Joshua.
Mhm.
Beth can't step outside of the house to go save her son. I mean, it was just a lot of choices she made were just ridiculous. I mean, she drove me crazy. Like I said, I didn't mind when she was stuck with Z. I liked it that a little bit.
Yeah. Now the whole last 20 minutes with Z basically keeping her in the house. They got married.
Yeah.
It was okay.
It was different though. It was so different because like
it was definitely different.
How possessive is he that he wants you to wear a freaking dress and stuff like that?
Right.
I mean, it's just the Z character could have been
obsessed with her since she was a child. So
yeah. Why 2% milk?
Yeah, shit sucks.
It's watered down. I mean, I drink it, but it's
one part that I wrote down, like it would have been cool if, like, when all those scenes that they had at the dinner table, what was there, 5 scenes of the dinner table, where they got, like, you could hear the crunch, like we did at the last 20 minutes, and then the dad would react, okay, now mom and son are not crazy. Like, this could have went in so many different directions.
Yes.
There was,
Do you think it felt rushed?
It was definitely rushed. I felt like like I've been saying, it was a puzzle that had that came with missing pieces. I felt like I would have switched a bunch of things in this movie. Like, I think it would have been cool. They're all at the dinner table. Hey, Z, I'm going to eat that garlic toast. The father taking the garlic toast. No, the fuck you're not. And he takes it back and eats it his goddamn self. Like, I don't know. I would have switched things.
All right, so let's start diving into the storyline. All right, so what do you think of the storyline 1 through 5?
Oh man, so I wrote 2.
2.
Because for the story, because like I said, it was good potential. I give it the 1 point for great potential, and then I felt like it went left like Beyonce, and like it just went in so many directions, and I felt like they were trying to do too much, and it just didn't work. It just was too much, and it didn't work. And I felt bad because I really wanted to like it. And I loved the characters that they casted for this movie. We just didn't get enough for either of them. We didn't get enough from the father, who was absent, who didn't even see Z until the very end, and then he dies by Z. Z himself, I didn't like the way he looked. He could have been, except the drawing, that was cool. But I felt like they could have just did more with his look. But we needed more from him too.
Yeah.
His story, his attacking of the family, maybe not. I don't know how they want to put it. I felt like I need to redo this whole movie.
I do it all the time.
Yeah, like I could have done something different. Yeah, I think the story is definitely a 2 because it was started off great. That's my 1 point, and then 2 points for trying. A for effort. I don't know. Yeah. What do you rate it?
I'm gonna go 3. And the only reason I'm gonna go 3 is I like that concept of the imaginary friend, the possessive imaginary friend, didn't exist. I mean, I thought that was a good concept. The movie's called Z, but we barely get enough of Z. But we wanted more Z, where Z should have been more present. Like even in that dinner scene, maybe if Z's not sitting there, but you see him like in the background, like little glimpses of something in the house. Like, one of the good things about scary movies is when you have the shadow people or the image of the shadow people. That's great because as you're watching a movie, you see something, you're doing this to see what the hell is in the background.
Yeah.
So,
I think this is the second movie where we kind of want to switch the title. I think we switched the witch to the goat or the Billy Goat or something. Like that.
Black Phillip.
Yeah, Black Phillip. That's right. And so Z, I think this should have just been called Imaginary Friend, or I don't know. Like, we didn't see enough of Z. I feel. No. And why does he even look like that?
Which one though? Yeah, I mean, it's like the 4 images that you have.
Why does he look like that at all?
Yeah, it's like, is there something where That's another question. Does he look like what people fear at the moment? Or there was so many things about him.
Yeah,
that's a good question. Because the minute he was behind Dr. Seeger, he looked almost female. Which the first thing I thought was like, oh my god, is that the mother? They take
in
the
the
form
part
of the
with
mother.
the bathtub, he looked male.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah, and he looked like a couple of exes I could have just thrown in hell myself. But yeah.
I mean, I give it a 3. Just I like the concept. It wasn't.
I love the concept.
Yeah.
I just think they trashed it.
Yeah.
It within itself.
All right, now, but let's talk about the characters now. Beth, Joshua, Kevin, and Dr. Seeger.
I put the mom and Josh as a 3, only because that's basically who we saw the whole movie was the mom and son.
Yeah.
And she had great parts. She had great potential, and I just didn't. I almost want to say 2 for her too, because she was just a shitty ass mother. Yeah. Just I don't know. I didn't like. I mean, we all go through depression, anxiety, PTSD, but I put all that within myself. I don't put that out on my child. Right. And she just puts it all her dirty laundry out there in the open, I felt. And it affects her child. No wonder he needs imaginary friend, because mom doesn't play with him.
Yeah. You know what? It's just another one of those films that should have flashbacks.
Right. Yes. We didn't get any besides the videotape that she burned. Yeah. There could have been so many answers on that tape, and I was so mad she burned it. We didn't even touch on the part where she finds the toy. Get Z.
Oh, Z.
Imagine Z. So that part was kind of cool, but imagine Z. I get it.
The fact that she had to write it down was funny though.
Right. I wrote it down too. It kind of reminded me. It kept because it said it fast. Imagine Z. And then I was thinking of the boy doing the hot lava every once in a while, and so I was like, isn't that a Gen Z type of thing nowadays? We didn't do that as kids.
No.
Josh is a 3. I think what I wanted from Josh, I felt like I got, but I want to know more about the connection with Z. They're playing, they eat together with no crust, peanut butter jelly. Yeah. I totally agree with that. And I don't know. The part, and I keep going back to it, but the part with Daniel was freaking awesome. It jump scared me out of my chair. I think I texted you when it happened. I don't know. Josh was a 3. The dad, 2, he was absent, but supportive.
Yeah.
I wanted more from the dad. The part where I wrote he was an asshole in here. The part where he's like, yeah, I think I saw something in the coat racker and it was his jacket. Like, that part made me so mad. I thought, so they could have did more with that part where he saw, and like they could have went a different direction right there and then.
I thought they were when they were doing
me too. And then he was like, just kidding. Like the sun in the tube. Just kidding. Okay, so you guys are going forward and then backing up, going forward, and you're literally saying just kidding in the movie.
Yeah. For me, I'm just gonna give the overall characters a 3. Because like the one character I wanted to give the most was Z, but being the fact that he wasn't there as I wanted him. But I mean, they all play their roles. Kevin should have been around more. He's such a good actor, and I agree that scene where he was telling Beth about he saw something. He should just say he saw something, because it would have been a lot better, because now you have both parents believing that their kid is imagining.
They were never on the same page.
Yeah.
Never.
It almost felt like he was just too busy with work, that he didn't have time to listen to, like his wife basically complaining about things that he didn't see. And for some reason, it felt like their relationship was always like him working, him coming home, and then her just complaining about it, which made him want to go to work even more. But Joshua, I do think that if I liked his character to a degree, but the scenes where things happen, I think it would have been cooler to see him smirking more. Almost like you kind of wonder who's doing it if Z really exists. Because that could have been a cool back and forth. Is Joshua really doing this because he's lashing out, or is there really?
I felt like we couldn't connect with the characters the way that we wanted to. And when they died, or some of them died, like we had zero reaction to it because we're like, oh, well, that sucks.
Yeah. Even when Kevin died, I'm like, really? That like that?
Yeah.
Come on.
I know.
I mean,
the whole time.
Brutal.
Right.
So I'm curious in this one. So what's your overall scoring of this film?
This is definitely a 2. I wanted so bad to like this one because it had such good concept. I loved the whole imaginary friend idea. I just needed more from it. Why does he look like that? What's with the hangings in the house of the mother's house? What's the connection with Beth and Z? And the connection with Josh and Z? What's with Dr. Seeger? There's so many questions, and I have no answers, and it makes me mad.
So you got a 2. I'll give it a 3.
What happened to Daniel? Did he die? Do you owe medical bills? Like, we don't get no answers. I really thought Dr. Seeger would have been such a puzzle piece that would fit. And we just didn't get nothing but a couple of scenes, and it's in your mind. So, oh man.
For me, I mean, I'll give it a 3. If I was to redo this one, I would do it backwards. I would do it her as a child with Z, then getting medicated, then getting married and having a kid, totally forgetting who Z was, then the fact that Z gets mentioned, that her son's playing with Z, then you could have attached the whole Dr. Seeger.
And then have her have flashbacks.
Yes, you could have had that whole thing connected a little better. That they could have did that, yeah.
The father be more present.
Yes, and the father believe. Maybe you flip it, have the father believe, and then the fact that she went through Z, she's in disbelief. Like flip their whole mentality around. Would have been a better story.
There we go, Brandon Christensen. We just rewrote it for you.
But no, I definitely agree. It had potential, and unfortunately, it didn't live up to the potential that we both wanted to.
No, and I watched it twice. It's not streaming on anything. I think it's on Prime.
It's on Prime and Shudder, I think.
Oh, okay. Oh, I don't have Shudder. See, I have Prime, and I had to rent it twice. I rented it twice. I'm gonna have to send you an invoice.
Get Shudder. There's a lot of good stuff on Shudder.
Yes, I'm going to get Shudder because I'm gonna have to send you and bill you an invoice.
Attach it to Amazon.
Yeah. No. Right. Yeah. Overall, 2 to 3.
Yeah, that's not good.
I know, but you know what? I'm glad you picked it. Only because we can't like everything.
No, you can't. I mean, this is the thing where we're doing. We're fans of story-driven horror, and sometimes when the story doesn't work. Yes, it had a great concept. It just didn't fulfill what we expected.
Right. Overall, yep. Like I said, this movie was a flop. Oh.
Do you want to tell people what we're going to talk about next?
So for next time, we're going to be talking about The Frighteners, a 1996 film.
Going way
One
back.
of my childhood favorites, way back. And it's another one of those lost movies that you just can't find, like Dead Silence. I think we mentioned that before.
Yes, with Michael J. Fox.
I know. Such a good, interesting character. You don't expect him to be in a horror movie.
Oh, one more thing, guys. And joining us to do that one is going to be Ricky Grimes, who's dying to talk about Frighteners. So it'll be 3 of us in 2 weeks to talk about Frighteners. So, I mean, like I said, we're not going to like every movie we do. Sometimes we pick movies to see how we dissect the story. And, hey, we're not going to like them all, but
no,
we love doing this.
Like I said, I'm glad you picked it because, I mean, if we had a show where we liked every single darn thing, then what show would it be?
Yeah, so, no, definitely.
I am curious on what you horror fiends think, though.
Yeah, let us know what you think about Z. If you watched it, if you think
Like,
we're wrong,
share, subscribe,
prove us.
comment. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
I think Z's here, my imaginary friend.
Drinking it in wine. All right, so
my best imaginary friend better love wine.
all right, so
Alrighty.
join us next time. We have more coming. What's Your Story with JR and
Lexi.
see you.
Share,
in
subscribe.
2 weeks. All right, we're out.
Bye.